Welcome to Know Your Universe, the series right here at Comicstorian where we break down the history of one of your favorite characters. We tell you where they came from, some interesting factoids about their publication history, and all the weird nitty-gritty that involves the character's existence. Recently, some people asked me who my favorite characters are. When I answered, the question came up about the Red Hood. They said, "Benny, I thought Red Hood was one of your favorite characters. You're always talking about him." Now, don't get me wrong. I do love me some Red Hood. The problem is, the Jason Todd that I like has only really been around since 2011. Before that, Jason Todd was dead until about 2005. After his resurrection, DC really couldn't seem to figure out what they wanted to do with him, with the character jumping from a sort of anti-hero to a full-blown supervillain, depending on who was writing the story arc. So for those of you guys who didn't know, we're going to take a trip down history talking about the guy that fans disliked so much that they killed him off. First appearing in 1983, Jason Todd was little more than a Dick Grayson clone. Seriously, his parents were circus performers who were murdered. After being taken in by Bruce Wayne, he went on to become the second Robin. The reason for this was that Dick Grayson had become the leader of the Teen Titans, yet Batman still needed a Robin to work alongside him. Without him, Batman would just be a creepy guy in a cave. Apparently, the 80s wasn't a very creative time, and instead of creating a brand new character, they decided to just clone the first Robin. After the soft reboot of Crisis on Infinite Earths arc, Jason's origins were changed and he actually became his own person. And people hated it. Gone were the happy-go-lucky clone days. Now Jason was just a wisecracking street punk who had met Batman when he tried to steal his wheels off of the Batmobile. Side note, where would you sell those? I imagine they're not the kind of tire that you could just find on a Subaru. And who's gonna take a tire that has the bat symbol on it? His mother died of an overdose, and his father was a thug for Two-Face. After Batman took him in, he made Jason the second Robin, believing that Todd would become a worse criminal if Batman didn't help him. Fans did not take to this new version of Jason, though. He was loud, angry, violent, and kind of a dick, like Damian is today. In 1988, Dennis O'Neil decided that the fans would have a say in what happened to this character. After Jason was captured by the Joker, he was beaten with a crowbar and left in a warehouse with a bomb. Fans then called two numbers, one to save Jason and one to kill him, killing off the character by around 72-ish votes. And yes, I know that there's a rumor and conspiracy that someone just used an automatic dialer to just constantly vote him dead, and that he actually should have lived. Anyway, the death of Jason was a defining moment for Batman, one that would affect him for years. Jason's memorial would be a constant reminder of Batman's failure, as well as change how he looked at new partners in the future. And Jason stayed dead for like 17 years. There used to be a saying, you can revive anybody in comic books except Jason Todd, Bucky Barnes, and Uncle Ben. Well, much like Bucky Barnes, Jason would return from the dead as a villain. In 2002-2003's story arc called Hush, an amazing one that we have right here on the channel, Batman went up against pretty much everyone in his rogues gallery, all orchestrated by the title villain, Hush. Towards the end of the story, Tim Drake, the current Robin at the time, is kidnapped by a resurrected Jason Todd, or at least what we and Batman are led to believe to be a resurrected Jason Todd. The two fight over Jason's grave, with the resurrected sidekick accusing Bruce of not caring about his death and still allowing the Joker to escape. In the end, we're informed that it wasn't a real Jason Todd, but Clayface disguised as him, although Jason's grave is in fact empty. Jump forward to 2004-2005 story arc called Under the Red Hood, another incredible one we have right here at the channel. Apparently someone liked the idea of Jason Todd being resurrected enough that they kind of went ahead and did it. Instead of breaking down what happened in each arc though, I'm going to give you the overall story. You see, in the Infinite Crisis storyline, Superboy Prime is trapped in a paradise dimension. To escape, he punches his way through the barrier. The blows are so powerful that they send ripples throughout the multiverse, which eventually resurrects Jason. That's right, Jason is technically punched back to life. I just love saying that. It's also part of the joke that we all make that if you want to retcon something, just Superboy Prime punch it. Anyway, after coming back to life, Jason has no memories of his former life and he kind of wanders for a little while, eventually being taken in by Talia al Ghul. Using the Lazarus Pit, his memories and health are restored, and it is hinted that Jason's mental state has been altered by the Lazarus Pit, but this is never ever truly confirmed. Okay, so you come back from the dead and you discover that not only has your former mentor replaced you, but he has also allowed the psychopath that murdered you to keep on living. What do? That's right, you travel the world learning to become a world-class killer with skills to rival even Batman. Funded by Talia al Ghul, Jason traveled the globe learning various skills, while also killing most of his teachers because it turns out that the people that know these skills are usually not good people. With him having completed his travels, he returns to Gotham as the biker jacket-clad Red Hood, and it is also revealed that it was really Jason that kidnapped Tim Drake in the Hush storyline, but he switched places with Clayface so that he could watch the fight. Using his superior training, Red Hood decides to control the crime in the city, fighting against the then underworld leader Black Mask. In the end, it comes back to Batman and Jason finally reveals himself. Capturing the Joker, Jason gives Bruce the choice. Either let Jason kill the Joker or Bruce kills Jason. Of course, Bruce doesn't let anyone die as he batarangs Jason's hand, defeating him and releasing the Joker. Of course, the Joker goes on to kill hundreds more, so whether Batman did the right thing or not is an argument for an ethics class. At this point, whenever Jason Todd shows up in the comic books, his attitude flip-flops quite a bit, from being a villain, like we just saw in his introduction, to a sort of anti-hero. Not like the Punisher though, just sort of a dick. Let's run through these real fast. Jason begins by murdering criminals in New York while dressed up as Nightwing. Nightwing is not happy about this because he's a psycho. Jason doesn't see a problem with this and is a jerk about it. Eventually, Nightwing has to save Jason from these mobsters. Afterwards, Jason tells Dick that he has returned to normal, whatever that means, and leaves the city. Showing up in Star City, the Red Hood decides to kidnap the second Speedy from Green Arrow because he thinks that he would make a much better team because they're so much alike. He then has a run-in with the Titans, fighting the Monitor, and he hits on Donna Troy because they have so much in common. They both came back from the dead, and he gets pissed when her ex-boyfriend shows up. He takes up the mantle of Red Robin during the countdown to Final Crisis. He's actually kind of a hero again, but he's still a jerk. After Batman is killed, aka sent through time in a Doctor Who-style adventure, Jason once again shows up in Gotham. Now he's dressed as a gun-toting Batman, believing that he is the hero that the city needs! He's gone full-blown psycho supervillain at this point, stabbing Tim Drake in the chest, and he finally gets to fight Dick Grayson for the mantle of the Bat. Of course, Dick Grayson wins and Jason promises to return. And that he does when he returns to Gotham after Dick Grayson has taken over the role of Batman. Now he seems even crazier though. Once again, Red Hood, Jason has transformed his costume into a more standard superhero garb. He takes on his own sidekick who has a tragic backstory, and he spends his time murdering criminals and spouting weird, heroic-ish one-liners. Eventually, he's once again defeated by Dick Grayson and taken into custody. After being kept in Arkham for a little while, he's moved to Gotham Prison, where he proceeds to murder more criminals. After being broken out of jail, Jason must work alongside Batman and Robin to save his former sidekick, and when he does, Batman tries to take him back into custody, but Jason informs him that he left bombs planted all over Gotham. Red Hood and Scarlet are last seen riding off into the sunset. So for a few years there, it doesn't seem like Jason had any consistency. For a while, he wasn't a bad guy, then he was kind of an anti-hero, then a hero, then a bad guy, then a worse bad guy, and finally, all of that changed with the New 52. After the Flashpoint event soft resetted the DC Universe once again, one of the initial titles was Red Hood and the Outlaws. Gone was the murderous Jason out for revenge against the Bat family. Instead, we had a Jason that was more like what if the Punisher was trained by Batman. Jason believes that some people just need to be put down. However, he also seeks redemption in the eyes of his former mentor and surrogate father. It's these two dueling ideals that make him an interesting character. After his death at the hands of the Joker, Jason was resurrected by Talia al Ghul in the Lazarus Pit. He was then trained by a group known as the All Cast, sort of mystical warriors and a League of Assassins. Once he returned to Gotham, Jason's new outlook on putting criminals permanently down didn't go well with the rest of the Bat family, so he struck out on his own as Red Hood. Eventually, he would hook up with Roy Harper and Starfire to become the Outlaws, former sidekicks who had no issue with making the hard decisions. Jason would also continue to work alongside Batman Inc. as the hero known as Wingman when Bruce offered him a second chance at redemption. During the events of Death of the Family, it's revealed that the most terrible things that have happened to Jason's life were actually all orchestrated and planned by the Joker to create a corrupted Robin. After learning this, Jason returned to the All Cast to have his memories wiped, and after this, Jason would go on to be taken into the League of Assassins, get his memories back, and fight and defeat Ra's al Ghul. Following these events, the Outlaws disbanded. Jason and Roy would then travel the world as the heroes for hire. This didn't last long though because of DC Rebirth. I think it got like 12 issues in. DC Rebirth was yet another soft reboot that was supposed to return some aspects of the characters that fans had missed since the New 52. Luckily, DC decided to keep the current Jason hero status quo and not return him to the psychopath that he once was. Instead, Jason and Bruce's relationship actually seems to be mending. Back in Gotham, Jason has been working for Batman in discovering a link between the City Hall and the criminal underworld, not unlike when Batman originally sent Nightwing into Bloodhaven to solve some murders. Discovering that the mayor has been infected with a virus, Jason cures him by shooting him. The bullets actually contain the cure though, so don't even get me started on velocity or how that would still kill him. Batman confronts Jason thinking that he killed the mayor, and Jason explains that his plan was that the criminal underworld will now think that he assassinated the mayor, thus allowing him to go undercover into Black Mask's organization. Batman agrees with this, but only if Jason agrees to not kill anyone. During this, Jason teams up with Artemis, the disgraced Amazon, and Bizarro, the messed up superhero clone, forming a new team of outlaws, or as they're known in continuity at times, the Dark Trinity. With this group of misfits, Jason seems to find the family and understanding that he's been looking for most of his life. But the story then takes an interesting turn. It turns out that Jason's father was actually doing all of the evil deeds to clear his name with the Penguin. Or basically, he was a lowlife working for the Penguin, and at the end of the day, he basically went to jail to cover for the Penguin, and he's been spending his life in jail as a cover for the Penguin, where it would appear that Jason's father died while agreeing to be a test dummy for some new metahuman gene, which would allow him to either die or get out of prison early. Either way, Jason begins to blame the Penguin for his father's death. He ignores his friends Artemis and Bizarro and proceeds to just go right for the Penguin, taking a shot at him at point-blank range, supposedly killing him. Of course, this drags Batman out and he comes over to beat down Jason Todd and kick him out of Gotham City. During all of these events, Artemis and Bizarro had to basically create a portal into a different dimension and they've gone missing. Now with Jason Todd, he's now known as the Outlaw, where he's willing to kill once again, and he's left Gotham, traveling in the Middle West, where he's battling against a giant crime organization. Oh, and it turns out he didn't actually kill the Penguin. Apparently at point-blank range with the muzzle right at the Penguin's eye, he somehow missed. I don't know, that's how we're keeping him alive in continuity. So there you have it. Jason Todd is a long and confusing history for someone who is dead for almost 20 years. The current state of Jason as the gun-toting member of the Bat family, who isn't afraid to put his enemies down, is the one that I like. The douche who couldn't make up his mind whether he was a hero or a villain is the one that I hope they never bring back. If you like Know Your Universe, let me know in the comments down below what you want us to cover next. And don't forget, you can subscribe right here to this channel to get your audiobook versions of comic books right here at Comicstorian. And you can also get other things like these knowledge bombs that we drop on you hard. Yeah, I probably should never say that phrase again. Don't forget to give this video a like, and I'll see you next time.